Fancast. I'm Kirt Graves.
And I'm Stefanie Jochman-Deepak. Today we are discussing the second episode of the 2012 miniseries, Titanic.
And the real question is, will it get any better?
Excellent question. I think my short answer is that it does.
I agree, insofar as it had a real low bar to clear.
Very true.
And it did do the work of being better than that first episode. I don't know that I would say it's good yet.
Yes.
But as with several other Julian Fellowes properties, the second episode makes a big difference.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah. It starts to flesh out the story in a way that it couldn't in the first episode, and therefore I enjoyed this episode more than the first one, while still having some issues with the story structure.
Yes.
Having many issues still with the quality of the production. And still wanting to know more about some of the storylines that were started in episode 1 that simply get glossed over in the second episode. So one must assume that the subsequent episode will pick up those storylines, the ones that we've skipped this episode.
Yeah, it feels as though maybe we'll resolve some plots in this episode to make way for picking up other plots in the next. We'll see how that pans out when we talk about episode 3. Yeah.
So, I guess, what are your impressions now that I've spilled the beans on what I thought about it?
No, my impressions, and so I'm watching this with my husband, Dhruv, and he said, about halfway or 3/4 of the way through, this episode is better than the previous one. So I think we both agreed it was better, and I think better in part, it's a little bit less frantic and hectic in terms of trying to manage so many people at once.
For sure.
So you can settle in just a little bit more. Plus, you have that previous hour with some information about characters. So the people that we spend short amounts of time with, we at least have some information about, so you feel a little bit more invested. And I feel like we return enough to some things that I'm engaged and I'm curious. I think just that the situation so we sort of begin with the Maloney, Maloney family. They are Catholics in Northern Ireland, which is a predominantly Protestant part of Ireland. And Maloney seems like a really skilled engineer, but he's doing small electrical work on the ship, and feeling like his opportunities are limited. And I think that's just his is a compelling performance. The immigrant story is a really engaging one, so I felt more invested in his story. Plus, and I'm maybe gonna jump ahead a little bit here, his wife, there's something going on with this.
Something's going on with the wife.
Yeah, there's something going on with this I think it's a Russian passenger who has also boarded in Belfast. He finds their lost little one and makes sure
somehow knows that it belongs to her.
Yeah. And then she's like looking at him on the ship. He's whispering to her in church.
Yep.
What is going on? I don't know. But I'm intrigued.
I hope we find out.
I hope we do too. I don't know if it's guaranteed.
Yeah. This was a strong start for the episode because it does give more backstory to this person who was frankly one of those people in the first episode that I was like, what are they even doing in the episode?
Yeah.
Like, it's just like the faceless, nameless immigrant family that goes into steerage and then we don't hear from them again.
Right. And that actor has a face that I know. So part of me is like, why are they squirreling him away in this part?
Yeah. Because it was like blink and you'll miss it. Their whole part of, it was really just them getting on the boat and him being like, I know where our room is, don't ask any questions, which is illuminated more in this episode when he goes and basically takes someone else's larger space for his family. Because he's got, 4 kids, so there'd be 6 people, and he just goes and takes one of the worker cabins that has 6 beds and is like, well, this is ours now.
Yeah, rather than splitting the family into the men and the women, which is all that his boss on the White Star Line says that they can. I think it's Ismay, right? That Ismay give Ismay, who's a real person, gives this guy, Mr. Maloney, boarding or passage rather on the Titanic in exchange for getting the electrical work done quickly, and lets him hire a team of whoever he wants. So that means he can hire some Catholics when he normally wouldn't be able to. But
then we do get more of Toby Jones and Maria Doyle Kennedy. So let's talk about their storyline a little bit, because we don't really get any of it in this episode is the family who she is at odds with.
Right, the Mantons.
The Mantons, yes, we don't really see them at all this episode. So instead, we've gone to second class and we're seeing their experience from. Not before the boat, just since they got on the boat. So if we didn't say that explicitly, we've jumped back in time. This episode jumps back in time to when the boat is being built and then as people are boarding the boat. So we get to see a little bit more of what happens before they hit the iceberg.
Mm-hmm. And so this is the Batley family. This is Mr. and Mrs. Batley. That's Toby Jones and Maria Doyle Kennedy. He is Mr. Manton's lawyer.
Yeah.
And so the two families have an association, but it's really clear in the first episode that the Mantons drive Mrs. Batty, and that Mrs. Batley knows about some secret that Mr. Manton has, and she sort of spews it out about this secret in Dulwich, right?
Which again was so confusing.
Yeah,
like the strength of her ire towards that woman in the first episode. It was like, what is going on? This is not an earned outburst.
Yeah.
I'm still not sure it is earned. But we'll get there.
Yeah. Well, I think so the issue with Mr. Manton, as we come to learn through the Batley storyline, is that Mr. Manton has been having an affair. So that's the secret that to some extent Maria Doyle Kennedy lets out. And he's been having an affair. He has a daughter through this affair that he doesn't see because he thinks it would be too confusing for her. And Mr. Batley, as his lawyer, has sort of been providing for the daughter, the illegitimate daughter, and covering the situation up.
Right.
But Mrs. Batley read Mr. Batley's papers, and that's how she's privy to this secret of the Mantons. So the issue with Mr. Manton is he's a philanderer, and he walks around all pious and above board. She can't stand it. The issue with Mrs. Manton is that Mrs. Manton is Irish and denies that heritage.
Right.
Mrs. Batley is very proudly Irish, and we're at a time in which, there for centuries there's been tension between Ireland and the UK, and particularly Irish Catholics, Irish Protestants, and Irish Protestants taking advantage of their connection to the English. Irish Catholics being regarded as lesser. And so some of that tension has to do with the fact that both of these women are from Ireland. One denounces it, the other, I think, very proud.
Right. On top of the usual class differences and the fact that Manton looks down her nose at people who are in lower classes and doesn't see the point of mixing with them.
Right. Even though she came from, say, the Batley's class.
Right. And what's strange about that to me is that it is Lord Manton who makes a point of reaching out to his lawyer and being kind and welcoming them and saying you should come and join us for tea. And so there is a part of me that wonders does Mrs. Batley assume that this kindness only exists because her husband has this information about him? Because otherwise I'd be well, this guy's not such a bad guy. He's at least trying to include you and recognizes that your husband as his employee is somebody he could have tea with, Yeah. The lines sort of blur. That's the impression I got of him in the first episode is he's willing to blur those lines. He's not such a bad guy. But if she suspects that the only reason he's being nice to them specifically is because her husband could blackmail him if he wanted to. then he does not come off smelling like roses.
No. And as sort of temperamental as Mrs. Batley seems, I think I'm on her side. At least in this series, I think I align myself with her. I think she puts up a good enough case, and her character's fleshed out enough in this episode that you really come to understand what her grievances are, what her frustrations have been, and I don't think it's unwarranted.
Well, I think I'm certainly on her side, but I think it's more because of the personal grievance she has, because we learn in a very touching scene where Maria Doyle Kennedy and Toby Jones do some great work, that they have struggled to have children. So they do not have children. And so she resents this man for being able to not only have 2 healthy children at home that he can claim publicly, but also a 3rd child out in the world that he can provide for and never see.
Yeah.
And so I understand the personal resentment in a way that I don't quite get the animus if it was just a matter of like class difference. So it's clearly more personal, and I'm sure informed by the fact that he has this child. I wonder if she would be so unkind if he was just having an affair and there was no child involved.
That's a good question. And wrapped up in this discussion of the child too is this concern. She says, just once I would and I think her class issue is those in the first class get all of this attention, receive all of these rewards and recognition. And she says, just once I want to feel as though my life mattered. The ship is getting ready to sink, and she is having some very deep and existential thoughts about the notions of class and power. It's a profound moment, and it makes sense, but it's also a very big topic to talk about as the iceberg is right there and the ship is sinking and people are piling into lifeboats.
Yeah. So I guess an interesting question we could start asking about all of these characters is, as we reach the end of their storyline, do we want them to survive? Do we care?
Oh, good question.
Are we? We'll have an imaginary Strange Bedfellows lifeboat. Are we putting them in our lifeboat?
I am putting the Batleys in the lifeboat because I want them to have a fresh start.
I agree.
I am not putting Mrs. Manton in my lifeboat.
They can have 2 spots in our lifeboat.
Yeah, I put the Batleys in the lifeboat. If anything, because like Mrs. Batley, she describes Lady Manton as having the brains of a kipper and the charisma of an egg. I mean, that's wit.
Yeah.
At the very least, she'll be entertaining. She can come in the lifeboat.
Agreed. Oh, just out of curiosity, I was like, I wonder how many people could fit in a lifeboat. Like, how many people can we put into our lifeboats? We cannot put this many because like the standard boats held 65 people.
I was going to say, I looked it up at 65.
Yeah, I was like, so we can't save 65 people. Let's say we have 10. We can save 10 people and put them in our lifeboat. And by the end of this series, we'll see who we want to save. But the Batleys are in.
At least for now. I worry.
At least for now, that's true. We'll see.
Maybe we'll come to Caravan more and we'll shove them out.
We'll see. I will say she earned some major points for me, but also it was like a punch in the gut when she comforted the dog when they're on the deck after they weren't able to get in a lifeboat. And I was like, oh my God, the pets, the animals.
Yeah. I know.
And I'm sure that's not going to be the last time it punches me in the gut. But you know how I don't care about people, but I love animals?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I was like, save the dogs, the sweet boys and girls. Help them.
Yeah. And I mean, the screenwriters talk about like the save the cat moment. We get Mrs. Batley, the comfort the dog moment. And so
yes,
we were on the fence. Now we lean towards her.
Yeah. So yes, that's their storyline, and they do end the episode holding on, deciding to fight for their lives, whatever that means in this moment to them, and holding on to something. I wasn't quite sure
Yeah.
what they were grabbing onto as water's rushing onto the deck. So
Yeah. So we'll see where we find them.
we'll see where we find them. Let's talk more about the hot Italian.
Okay.
We get one of them. We get one storyline.
And not a whole lot again.
Not a whole lot, but we do get to see sort of like they flip the camera, so we see his perspective after he winks at the young heiress or lady Georgiana. We see him getting reprimanded because the guy who runs the dining room is like, "Did I just see you wink at her?" And he's like, "Yeah, she's pretty.
Yeah.
Of course I wink." Like, yes. And he's like, "You can't do," and he's like, "I don't think she minded. We are the same age." It's like, no. He like truly, either he's playing that he doesn't get it brilliantly, or he's like, "I don't understand. Like, why can't I wink at the pretty lady?" You know?
I may be playing in stereotypes here, but I think there could also be a cultural difference in terms of behaviors and what's acceptable between men and women and what's not.
That's probably also true, because he's like,
your English
It's
culture versus Italian culture.
Yeah, we're both young. She's pretty. I winked at her.
Yeah.
Of course. It would be rude not to.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, so we see that perspective. We do get to see his brother very briefly.
Very briefly.
Toby Jones is there to see the boat hit the iceberg.
Yes.
And after he sees the collision, then we cut to below decks into the boiler room where suddenly we see the water rushing in.
Yes. And the hot Italian waiter does get a moment with Jenna Coleman later in this episode as well.
That's right.
He's just flirting with all the girls.
He is.
Yeah. This man is on the boat trying to get laid. It's a long journey. He's like, I gotta find some way to pass the time when I'm not working, and he is putting in the hours right away.
On the prowl.
Yeah, on the prowl. But yeah, we do get an interesting moment in the boiler room when the guy, I don't know who any of these people are, the guy who hired the Maloney.
Oh, so that's Ismay. Yeah.
Ismay, okay, is basically there with the captain and being like, "Oh, okay, well, this is the 5th compartment to be breached, and therefore the boat is going down."
Yeah.
Because if people were not familiar with their Titanic history, the reason why the Titanic was supposed to be unsinkable is because it had compartments that could be closed to stop the water from rushing in and taking the boat down. But the iceberg did damage to 5 compartments.
Yeah.
And so all was lost from the very beginning. There was no way that those compartments could have closed in such a way that it would have saved the boat from going down. So a flaw in the plan. You could only have an iceberg that hit this many parts of the boat, but if it gets to this many parts, it's going down anyway.
Yeah, and the iceberg just scraped along the whole side, right, where those compartments had been.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so his name is Bruce Ismay.
Sure.
Okay.
Will he be important? I don't know.
I mean, I think he's there as, he's watching the dream crumble, and we get a little bit more of him in this episode, both in hiring Maloney, but then he takes issue with, and so he's the shipbuilder. He's not with the White Star Line is owned by somebody different.
Okay.
My apologies, listeners. Ismay is in charge of the construction. He's working for the White Star Line, and he complains about who's running the White Star Line at the start of the episode.
Yes.
So I think he's portrayed, he's been looking out for the common good. He's been trying to build a sturdy ship, but he's also working under some demands to cut corners or speed things up, not to worry entirely about safety because they've constructed an indestructible ship.
Yes.
Or so they think.
And he is played by actor James Wilby, who was also in Gosford Park. So we're seeing some crossover in the Julian Fellowes properties. So
that did not register for me. Good connection.
I just looked it up. So I was like, who is that guy? I feel like I know that guy. So
Wait.
yeah.
Yeah.
Are there Any other moments from the show you want to comment upon?
Yes. Give me one moment as I wrangle my notes here. I continue to contend that Gibson and Lightoller have the best chemistry on the show.
You're right, and with one single moment in the whole episode.
Yeah. Gibson is there with her mother, and her mother doesn't want to put her life jacket on. She doesn't want to get into the boats. And so Lightoller comes up to them and says, well, you want to be there to protect your daughter, don't you? And he's just so kind and so convincing right away. He reassures the mother, gets her to put on the life jacket, and then gives Gibson like a bottle of brandy and says basically somebody on this lifeboat might need it. And just the way he cares for her mother, the connection he has with her, they continue to have the best chemistry on this ship. I fear they're not going to find each other when things are wrapped up, but...
As much as I'm enjoying their chemistry, I'm not putting them in our lifeboat right now.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd put Gibson in the lifeboat. I like Dorothy. My trivia question was all about her.
Yeah, I'm not ready. I'm not there. Plus, don't you think she gets into a lifeboat? One of the other ones?
Okay. So we can only choose people who aren't on the lifeboats currently?
Not necessarily. I don't want to put like strong rules on this. I'm just saying that's part of my reasoning for like, I don't think she needs our lifeboat. I think she's fine.
Okay.
I think the famous American actress is going to be taken care of in this situation is what I'm saying.
Okay. What do you think is going on between Mrs. Maloney and this Russian?
Don't you wonder if there's some sort of affair that happened like while her husband was off getting all of this work and providing for the family, and she's a mother of 4 children at home alone, and there's this handsome neighbor, and maybe something happened or was about to happen. But again, I didn't think anything of it at first, but when they showed the moment of him bringing her the child and being like, I'm pretty sure this is one of yours, I was like, whoa, that's racist, assuming the redheaded child goes with the redheaded mother. But then later in the episode when he did the whispering in the church, I was like, or he knew that child belonged to her because he'd seen him with her before.
Yeah.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah. And he fights for the Maloney family to escape and get up to the top deck so they can get on a boat, so they can put the Mrs. Maloney and the kids on a lifeboat, when at first they're sort of keeping all the passengers from steerage below decks, waiting to fill up the lifeboats with second and first class passengers. So right now he seems heroic, but also very mysterious.
Right. There's the story we haven't gotten the full story there.
Yes.
So one must trust that it gets fleshed out in future episodes.
My last comment then about this episode is I really liked that they showed this moment at church. That I for some reason, like, it hadn't registered for me that when there was a service on the boat, everybody would be at that service. That would be the one place where the classes weren't divided. And so I just found that particular moment really interesting. I found like the first class passengers' frustration with the fact that second and third class passengers were at the church service with them very telling and very interesting. But I liked that detail was included, because that's not something I thought about happening aboard the ship, and just good food for thought.
Yeah, no, I agree. And we get a nice little moment with Celia Imrie in that scene as well. And that's actually a lead-in to my trivia question.
All right, let's have it.
If you're ready for it. So, listeners, every episode, one host is going to challenge the other with a trivia question related to the Julian Fellowes property we are discussing that week. It could be about an actor, the production, the time period in which the story is set. First, let's take a listen to last episode's question and answer and see if I got it right.
So, Dorothy Gibson, played in this series by Sophie Winkleman, was a real passenger on the Titanic. She was a famous actress, and she was a cover girl. Gibson was a favorite model for the illustrator Harrison Fisher, and his Fisher Girls in a fun coincidence of language and timing, followed the Gibson girls of Charles Dana Gibson, no relation to Dorothy, as representative of feminine beauty and style in the early 20th century. One of Fisher's drawings of Dorothy Gibson appeared on the cover of which popular American magazine, later known for its iconic illustrations from Norman Rockwell, almost exactly 1 year before Dorothy Gibson boarded the Titanic. So we're looking for the name of the American magazine on which Dorothy Gibson appeared 1 year before the Titanic set sail.
Oh, okay. I feel like there's a limited number of options. I'm thinking back to that time period. I'm drawing a blank. Okay. What are some old magazines? Can I ask, is it a one-word title or does it have multiple words?
It is 3 words. And again, Norman Rockwell is probably the artist most associated with this movie.
Yes, you're saying that like it means... and sadly, I know very little about Norman Rockwell.
Okay.
So if it's 3 words, I will guess The New Yorker.
Oh, good guess. And I think some of Fisher's drawings must have appeared on the New Yorker. But in this case, it's the Saturday Evening Post.
Oh. Yep. Would have gotten that never.
Sorry. In truth, I just got excited about Dorothy Gibson because I thought she was the Gibson girl. And then when I did research, I was like, oh no. But she's sort of like the heir apparent to the Gibson girls, and language and time are funny.
Yeah. I had never heard of the Gibson girls either.
They are poofy hair, like your Anne of Green Gables bouffant, adult Anne of Green Gables bouffant.
Sure, I get that reference.
There are some listeners who will. Trust me on this one.
Good.
And listeners, if you get it, post a picture in the comments.
Yeah, no.
Exactly what I'm thinking about.
Okay, listeners, did you get it right? Follow us on Instagram at Strange Bedfellows, that's fellows with an ES, where we will be posting the trivia question and answer each week. This week, I have a question for Stefanie.
Ooh, exciting.
Are you ready?
I am.
Cool. So, Celia Imrie, as Grace Rushton, bemoans the presence of Mrs. Brown on board. We can assume this is a reference to Margaret Brown, an American socialite and philanthropist who survived the sinking of the Titanic. The unsinkable Molly Brown, as she has come to be known, was born in what American city that gained notoriety when it was featured in a 1955 musical? All right, listeners, so you can tune in next episode to find out if Stefanie got it right. If you think you know the answer, find this week's question over on Instagram and put your answer in the comments. This has been another episode of Strange Bedfellows. You've heard our thoughts, and now we want to hear yours.
The best way to get in touch with us is on Instagram. Again, that's at Strange Bedfellows with an ES in Fellows, or email us at strangebedfellows@gmail.com. You can also find our personal social media links in the show notes.
If you would be so kind, please rate and review the show wherever you're listening or watching to us right now, and subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Thanks for listening.
Ta-da!